welcome to a new episode of the D.Fos Podcast, my first premiere episode on Vegas Hype Media Network. Excited to be on the network. It's a new beginning for us. On today's episode, we got Big Will, history of the historic west side of Las Vegas. If many of you don't know about the history of Las Vegas, we got somebody that's a pioneer that's been born on it, grassroots of Las Vegas. And so he's going to break down a lot of things that was going on in the city from when he was born to when he came in to up now. So we're going to take him, man. I want to welcome my guest. He's out of the Manor family, the first of 11 out of the Manor family, the big brother of the Manor family, Big Will, Uncle Will, Big Baby. Some of y'all know him by many names, former soul brother, former hog jockey, just a real grassroots guy in the community. Been around the Vegas, all his life. Representative of the 89106. Just want to welcome Big Will to the show, man. How you doing, brother?
What's up, man? I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
Oh, man, good, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. You know, we had talked about this a while back. We was going to do like a documentary. We was going to do like a video. We couldn't figure out what we was going to do. So when we was on the phone, about a month ago, I said, you know what, man, this would be a good opportunity. It was Black History Month. I really was trying to get it then, but, time and constraints, we really couldn't get it then. Yes, so it happened how it was supposed to happen. We in the right place at the right time. So we're just going to break down, man, the history of the historic West Side. I don't know many of you know about it or know the roots of it, but this man knows some of everybody, some of everything. The timeline is just incredible. And he like just not only does he know it, he's lived it. He's been here, since day one, since he was born. So we're just going to take it from the top, man. So let's start, man. Just you the first of the 11 out of the Manor family. Shout out to the Manor family. Big Will is also my brother-in-law. I'm married to his sister, Sharonda Manor. So that's our connection. But I've been rocking with this cat for a long time, man. Straight out of the Jets, and y'all don't know the Jets, man. They straight out of the Jets, they family, man. I've been married to his sister for going on 28 years now. And when I first met him, man, I knew they were some real cats, man. I think she had me meet him first, and then I met Omar and everybody else. So I knew they were some solid brothers, man. So let's just take it back. Even starting like when you was born, man. You was born in like 68, kind of like right on the cusp of the Civil Rights era, Martin Luther King era, and Vegas was considered the Mississippi of the West. And so just by you growing up, man, what were some of the things you seen in that era coming up, man, that kind of, formed this whole historic West Side of Vegas, man, if you want to speak on some of that.
Okay. Like you said, man, I was born in 68, okay? Mm-hmm. June of 68.
Okay.
And that's 2 months after Dr. King was assassinated, so it was a lot of things going on, man.
A lot of civil, social unrest.
A lot of things that was going on, within West Las Vegas. And I have to really think about, man, the things and the struggles that my parents went through, because with my dad's from Vegas.
Okay.
My dad was born and raised here in Vegas.
Okay.
My mom was from Arkansas. She was from the South.
Okay. That was one of those transplants that everybody was coming from the South.
From the South,
Shout out to Mom Dukes, too. Shout out to Miss Linda Manor. Miss Linda Manor, who birthed the whole Manor family.
So it was like her coming from the South. My dad is from Vegas, and, we would hear different stories, where Mom's was coming from the South where the schools were segregated.
Yeah, straight up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was segregation in the schools. And then, they get out here, you know what I'm saying? It's integrated, but it's still segregated.
To some extent.
There's still a lot of segregation going on.
Okay, and this is like when y'all was going to, like, coming up elementary school and all that stuff like that.
True enough, but like I said, this is with Mom's, but now when we went to school, it was the same thing. Now, I come up through the era where all the schools on the west side, before I started school, it was all elementary schools. So everybody.
Is that like the Mabel Hogarths and all?
Mabel Hogarth, Matt Kelly, Madison, Kit Carson.
Okay.
All the schools in the Black community.
All elementary.
Elementary schools in the Black community. There was no junior high schools in the Black community or whatever. You know what I mean? So what happened was when we came out, they had a busing situation, right?
Okay.
And it was conflict with that, right? So when we went to school, we were bused out of our neighborhoods to go to school from the first grade to the fifth grade. Okay.
So y'all did elementary there, but then anything after elementary, y'all was bust out.
No. That was before me.
Oh, before me.
Before my age group.
Okay.
They was all elementary schools. They went from the kindergarten to the sixth grade.
Okay.
Then when my era came through, they had the busing situation and the integration situation. So all of it changed. Okay. Because we were bussed out from the first grade to the fifth grade.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Then we came back to our neighborhoods for 1 year, which was the sixth grade.
Okay.
And then we were bussed back out from the sixth on to the 12th grade. On to the 12th.
Wow, that was crazy, man.
It was crazy, you know. So,
and what do you think that was? You think it was lack of resources, or just like was an underserved community being the West Side, or like what?
Man, it was honestly, it was a lot of white people didn't want their kids coming into West Las Vegas.
Who didn't want them coming in to go to school.
To school. They didn't want them coming to West Las Vegas to go to school. So, you know, and like I said, with integration, like I said, all of it was new. It was new then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we talking about early 70s, maybe.
Early 70s, you know, and everything, you know, all this stuff was still new. So it was like, okay, how can we fix that part? You know, so the complaints of the black community, you know, other complaints of the black community, how can we fix that so we can say, okay, well, we did this. And that's what they did. They bust the white students in for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Sixth grade. That's why they made all those schools sixth grade centers.
Sixth grade. I remember the sixth grade centers.
Sixth grade centers.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So all the schools on the west side turned into sixth grade centers. So like I said, the Madisons, the Joe Mackeys, and Kit Carsons or whatever.
Man, so that was by design like that, yeah.
It was by design.
Okay.
So they bust in 1 year, and that was it. And, you know, they were able to go back and go to school out of their neighborhoods, you know.
That's crazy,
back there.
Man. That's something else, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
but
man.
it starts like early on with the education.
It does.
And that was like pretty much everything from there, kind of like going on from there.
Man, it was, you know, just imagine your most impressionable years, man, is growing up as a kid, man. You know,
them
from
early years,
early child development. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to school with people that you have no idea. You know what I'm saying? And you're going into school with, you may have a classroom of 20 kids, and it's only 2 black kids in there.
The whole class.
Wow. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So, you know, and this is happening from the first grade on to the sixth grade. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a lot of years. That's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. You know, so it was, you know, it was crazy, man. You know, trying to get an understanding. You know what I'm saying? Just luckily that, you know, I came from a strong foundation.
Yeah,
you know
what
I'm saying? The family foundation was strong. We had a good understanding on what, you know, on social situations, man. Yeah.
Did Pops? I know Pops was strong, man. Shout out to Cat, man. R.I.P. Did he kind of like you know, talk to y'all about that? Like try to prepare y'all for what was going on at that time, which y'all was ready to go through, or like what?
Constantly, bro. Yeah. Constantly.
I heard about the midnight talks. They wake all y'all up in the middle of the night.
Man, Pops did not care what time it was. If he had something that he needed to say and he needed to get it off his chest, it was happening. It was happening right then. You know, it was an urgency, bro, that he had, you know, to
get it out.
That he needed to get it out. He needed to explain to us right then, you know, and that's what he did, man. You know, so
I heard about that, man.
Yeah.
Speak about some of the even surrounding, like, you know, the Jets and all that, some of the like landmark areas. Like, I guess we can start with Nucleus Plaza.
Okay.
Because a lot of that, you know, from my understanding, you know, we talked, a lot of the West Side was flourishing and prospering around that time. So what was one of the earliest spots that you knew? Was it Nucleus Plaza? They had like everything, like it was a market and all that stuff. Like, speak on that.
Okay, let me say this. Before Nucleus Plaza, the shopping center was called Golden West Shopping Center. Okay?
Golden West.
It was Golden West Shopping Center. Okay. Right? And it had a major grocery store. I remember growing up, Smith's Food King was in Nucleus and in Golden West Shopping Center.
Okay, Smith's Food King.
Smith's Food King.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a Smith's Food King right there. Then it had you had the drug stores. It was a place in there that was called Western Auto. A lot of people may not remember Western Auto, but it was Western Auto in there. And of course, you had the beauty shops, the barber shops,
But everything was pretty much, you could self-contain. Like, you didn't have to leave the West Side for services and none of that.
For none of that, man. It was a bunch of things in West Las Vegas, man. You know, it was like your tailors, your restaurants.
Yeah. And we talking clubs, like, what do you think, like, late 70s, early 80s, or what are you saying? Like, when around that what era you think?
Okay, right when Nucleus Plaza came about, it was a riot. Okay.
That was an early riot. I heard about. Okay, was that 60s or 70s?
It was 70s. It was like mid to late 70s. You know what I'm saying?
And what was that about? Social injustice?
Social injustice, same thing.
So did they tear it up then? They
did. They did tear it up, man. Yeah, man. Right on the corner of Owens and J Street, man. It got bad, bro. They turned over a police car, set a police car on fire, and all that right there. You know what I'm saying? When that was going on, and you know, Black Panthers was in, and it was
at the height of that,
right? A lot of the businesses in Golden West Shopping Center pulled out after that. You know, and it kind of lay dormant. There was a few businesses in there. It kind of lay dormant, but you know, the talk is that Nucleus Plaza or the Golden West Shopping Center didn't flourish or didn't do anything else, the West Side wasn't going to be anything else. It was just going to be
that was like the heart of it.
It was like that's what they claimed.
What was across the street where like Bilo and is and stuff? Like, what was across that street?
That was on that right across the street from there. Back then, it was Larry Sight and Sound.
I remember Larry Sight, and they tore that whole little strip mall out right there.
Larry Sight and Sound. It was Larry Sight and Sound. It was
about 4 or 5 shops or something right there. Yeah,
exactly.
But they was a staple right there. I remember Larry Sight.
Then right next to Larry Sight and Sound, that complex, it was the West Side Story.
Okay.
Which was a nightclub there.
Okay. That was a night. Okay.
Then on the corner, right on the corner of Owens and H.
Okay.
It was People's Choice.
People's Choice.
It was another club right there. Then they had the car wash behind that. Then they had the restaurant Fish and Go. Which turned into, well, first it was Humdingers, then it was Fish and Go, then it turned into Peanuts Joint.
Man, you know, popping little spots though, man.
Popping little spots, man. All those little spots was, you know, it was on. You know what I'm saying? You know, so.
And People's Choice was like a nightclub too.
People's Choice was a nightclub also. It was a bar nightclub. Actually, it was first. It was called Woody's.
Woody's, okay.
It was owned by Woodrow Wilson. Okay. And Woodrow Wilson was a prominent brother in the community, which actually was the president of the only black credit union in West Las Vegas.
Oh, really? And where was that located? Was that on over there too?
The credit union was on the west side. It was right behind. It was right behind. Actually, some apartments me and my brother lived in when I first moved out, man. When I first moved out of my mom's house, actually my mom used to work for the credit union back in the day, you know. But it was off of East Street and Madison.
Okay.
Across the street from Second Baptist Church, and it was, you know, it was a. I mean, you go in there and get a car loan.
Get a car loan,
you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Can really go in there and do some business and
stuff.
You
can do business in there. Yeah.
As you said, Woodrow Wilson, is that one of the cats, like if you go through the West Side now, and a lot of those streets got, they named after people, and they got their pictures and little stuff. You know, a lot of rich history, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
What about John Edmond? I know you said something about him. Okay. I know he was like a major real estate guy back then, right?
Well, see, that's the thing. John Edmond bought Nucleus Plaza. Actually, like I said, I was there before that the Nucleus Plaza was
that we know today.
Was Golden West Shopping Center. Okay. So, like I said, after everything happened with the riots and all of that, they said that it was just going to lay dormant if no one ever did anything. So John Edmond was a businessman. Okay, actually he was a baccarat dealer on the strip.
I think I remember you told.
He was a baccarat dealer on the strip. And it was 4 other gentlemen. It was John Edmond, Willie Shields, Larry Brown and Steve Cooks.
They had to have their paper right though.
All
man,
those brothers.
Yeah.
All those brothers. That actually it was granted.
It was granted.
Right. They got they went in and put in for it. Okay.
And got the grant.
And they got the grant for it. Okay. And they were saying that if it didn't do anything or whatever, it was gonna do. It wasn't gonna happen. But they pulled their stuff together and they bought it, and they start putting different types of resources and things in there. Big 8 Market.
Big 8 Market, okay.
Big 8 Market was the anchor to it at that time because, like I said, all the other businesses, they bounced, man. They left out, right? They pulled out. Yeah. So they had Big 8 anchoring it. Then you had the beauty shops, DD's Original, Studio One Barbershop.
Studio One, I remember
and all those in there.
Okay.
Then you had the beauty supply store, and different places like that that was in there. Then later on came the welfare offices.
Later on.
And the services.
Okay.
But
it was a full service like that. Little plaza. You could do everything.
It was. It was. Yeah, it was then.
So John Edmonds played a real big role in redeveloping the West Side. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to John Edmonds, man.
Yeah, I would say in that situation. Then, like I say, then right after that, he brought in that was the place where you can go and rent it out for parties and things like that.
It was like, what was that little spot called? It wasn't the Heritage, wasn't it?
Well, first came the Heritage Hall.
Heritage Hall.
The Heritage Hall was first. It was a huge place.
So it was like a banquet hall. You
could
go there.
You can go and rent that out. Okay. Then the Heritage Lounge came after that. So the Heritage Lounge came, and he had the Heritage Lounge. The Heritage Hall was still in operation.
Man, I never knew that, man. Yeah. I never knew
so he had that going on.
The Heritage, what I remember, man, it used to be a lot of drama jumping off at the Heritage, though, man.
It was.
It would be cool. You could kick it, but then the next weekend it might be a murder or fight or something like that.
It happened.
Yeah,
it did happen.
Yeah,
yes, it did.
Yeah. But it was popping. It was
popping, man. But like I said, it was a lot of it was so many places, man, on the West Side. Like if you go through there now, bro, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah. And that was a lot of black entrepreneurship and ownership and doing for self. Like
it was. It really was.
And then you know how they say in our community the dollar leaves right away.
And it did.
But in that situation, we could circulate buy goods and services from the other businesses and stuff, right?
Like I said, integration happened.
Integration.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. When integration happened, it took years, man. It took years for it to fall apart. I would say.
But it was slowly
declining.
Yeah.
Because like I said, man, you had all types of different restaurants and clubs and bars and, all this different stuff in West Las Vegas, man. I remember going to Hamburger Heaven.
I'm about to say, Hamburger Heaven take it further, major. Like down on that D Street there. Yeah, Hamburger Heaven.
Hamburger Heaven. You had Hamburger Heaven, man. You had
that was the spot, from what I understand.
Hamburger Heaven was the spot. Yeah. Hamburger Heaven had been there for so long, man. I mean, I'm talking about from the 50s.
God, that was like a family-owned joint or something like that?
Family-owned place, and it was passed down,
And what was that? It was right off of what?
Right on the corner of E and Monroe.
Okay. See, stuff like that, man, like, we got to keep that stuff going, kind of like, man, like.
It was on the corner of E and Monroe, man. Then you had Survivor's Fish.
Okay, Survivor's Fish.
Survivor's Fish was there.
Uncle Ben's. Okay. So all these was like, if you compare it to nowadays, it would be like all these fast food joints, but all these was like
there you go,
homegrown joints, and everybody places. was all open and thriving and stuff.
Uncle Ben's at one time had 3 locations.
3 locations?
Uncle Ben's they moved from Jackson to H.
Okay.
They was on Jackson Street. They moved from Jackson up to H in Bonanza. Okay. Then they opened a second place on Las Vegas Boulevard and Pecos.
Wow.
And then Chris McLemore, these are my relatives, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So Chris McLemore opened Little Ben's in Nucleus Plaza.
I heard of Little Ben's, so it was like a little spinoff of Uncle
Ben's. That was his son.
Man.
That was his son. They opened Little Ben's, and then a lot of people don't remember that it was two Hamburger Heavens.
Was it?
It was Hamburger Heaven that was on, like I said, on Monroe and East.
The original one.
The original Hamburger Heaven. And then it was another Hamburger Heaven right off of Lake Mead and Highland, I would say, not Martin Luther King.
Not Martin Luther King. Okay,
Highland.
before. Okay, now we're talking history now.
Right.
Before Martin Luther King became Martin Luther King. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And so was that the same people there? Was that somebody else who tried to come with that name?
Nope. No one came with the name. It was almost like a franchise.
Like a franchise.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was different people that owned it, but it was still Hamburger Heaven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, that's a lot of history, man.
Yeah.
And what do you think about one of the most iconic black establishments in Las Vegas, the Moulin Rouge? What do you think happened to that? Because from what I understand, like they wouldn't let the blacks go on the strip then. So the Moulin Rouge is kind of like our place to like go and kick it and do everything. What do you think happened to that, man? Why do you think that failed?
I'm going to tell you the original reason why I believe that it failed is that they were pulling money from the strip.
Okay.
The money they was taking money.
Chips from
the money, man. The money was coming.
They wasn't gonna have
strong.
that, man, huh?
Well, see, the thing was, it was an after hours joint. You know what I mean? But it was major players, man, that went to the Moulin Rouge
because it was like tucked off in the cut, away from the strip, away from downtown,
the strip, on Bonanza, NH, in the west, on the west side. So it changed, man. You know, it changed the dynamic on the strip. They had
one little spot like that.
One little spot like that. See. Because like they would say, I would hear older people say all the time, man, when it first opened, after 12 o'clock, when nobody on the strip, they was at the Moulin Rouge.
Because that was the spot to be at.
That was the spot to be at. After they went and did their shows and things like that on the strip, the after party was on the strip.
Was there.
And it was not just for black people. It was integrated. It was black people,
so
white
you wanted
people.
To come down there, and I heard like Sammy Davis used to come down there, and
the
like
whole Rat Pack. All of them was down there,
yeah.
man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was
that
all
was the
down
real
there.
after party
You know?
right there.
And it only lasted a little while, man, and they shut it down because they was pulling the money from the strip.
Yeah.
You know?
It seemed like for years they wanted to kind of like revitalize it, get it back, but it's like it just never could like get over that hump, like, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then they finally like tore down all the remaining structure of it. Yeah.
It was
That's
so
sad,
many.
man.
It was supposed to have been rebuilding it so many times and different things like that. It just never happened. It never came about.
Wonder why didn't nobody try to like investors put no money into it or nothing? You think it would have been viable if somebody invested in it?
Man, it was plenty people that were supposed to. You know, that was. As a matter of fact, I know John was on the committee.
Was he?
One time he talked to me about it.
Yeah,
it was him and because it was purchased after that. After the initial shutdown, it was purchased by Miss Sarah Ann Knight, which actually her and her husband owned the People's Choice.
Okay.
You know, so it was business people, man. It was major.
They had a nice
people.
Parcel of land too,
yes,
man. They had a nice stretch of land.
It was the apartments rented out for a long time after the Rouge was closed.
Did for a long time.
You know,
I remember they caught fire a couple times or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
What about what's that? West Coast. Has West Coast always been behind there like that? As far as you remember,
the project.
The projects, they always been right there, kind of.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time. Yeah, and they're talking about redoing and revitalizing those right now.
Right now,
yeah,
like knocking them down or something.
Well, first they said they were going to revitalize again. Now I was in '97. They revitalized, and they came through. They tore out, they shut it all down, and they came in and redid, redid a thing over there, man. And I was actually working over there at the time. I'm an electrician by trade, so I was working for Richardson Construction.
Okay.
And John Edmond he was a player in that, man, because he had Edmond Construction going on at the time.
Okay.
So
this putting a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff, man. Yeah. Wow, '97. That was a minute ago. It
was a minute ago, man. And it was something. It was a horrible thing happened over there, bro. It was a horrible.
It happened over there.
Happened right there, man. And I saw this happen. It was a thing that we come to work one day, man, and it was. You could check this out. This is fact. Fact. We come to work one day, and my foreman, we had staged and stuff in the apartment. All the supplies that we were going to use, we staged it in the apartment.
Okay.
Then the next day we come back. We're just going to pull stuff and start working. Okay. So my supervisor, I cannot remember to this day if it was in the afternoon or first thing in the morning, but he walks into an apartment, right? Pull all the boards down. He walk into the apartment. He said, "Hey man, we need the supplies from across the street."
Okay.
I go across the street, get the supplies. I come back out. He's throwing up.
Damn, like
He's
that?
throwing up.
Coming out of this apartment?
Coming out the apartment.
Okay.
My thinking is, man, what did you eat, man?
Yeah, something like
and
that.
And he's like, "Oh man, it's messed up in there. It's messed up in there." I said, "Man, you the one that threw up in the apartment, bro." I walk in the apartment. It's this girl in there. She's dead.
God. In the apartment where y'all was storing y'all stuff at?
Well, we stored the stuff at the day before, so she was brought there that night.
God.
Okay, bro. That she was in there dead. It was a white girl. I remember it like it was yesterday. She had on one of those rayon sweatsuits with the purple, pink, and turquoise sweatsuit.
Yeah.
She had no shoes on. She still had a jewelry and everything on her, right?
So now it becomes a crime scene.
It's a crime scene. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, we have to figure out what we're going to do. The foreman was like, "Look, man, we're going to get this handled. Y'all don't want to be involved in this because it's going to drag." You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be a minute, yeah.
So, bro, I'm going to say maybe about 6 years ago, I'm sitting at home, I'm watching the news, right? They got, how they going back and doing all the...
Was it like a cold case? Something like that?
Right, but they doing all the DNA. They got the money. They got the money to go back and do the DNA, right?
Okay.
Bro, they go and do the DNA, comes back, it was a police officer that killed that girl in that apartment, man. And they went and arrested him, man.
And you think he broke in her and threw in her or something? Like,
he had to. And then put the boards and stuff back because everything was back the way it was.
Man.
But he took that girl in there. He killed that girl, man. And man, I'm telling you, if you look it up right now, they arrested that guy. It was a police officer, and he was before then. He was arresting prostitutes and having them do sexual acts with him.
There it is, right
to
there.
let him go.
Yeah, to let him go. Yeah,
and that was part of it. And they did a sting. That's how they caught him. They did a sting, and they caught him in the room with the prostitute and all that, but they didn't link this until years later.
Yeah.
But
they tied it back though.
When they was able to do the rape, the test and everything, his DNA popped.
God.
Yeah.
Man. You probably thought he got away with it too, didn't he?
He probably did.
Yeah.
After all that time. Yeah, man.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah.
Man. What do you think about the history of the churches on the west side? Like, it's a gang of churches, man. Like, what do you think that is? Okay. Why do you think they so heavily saturated in that one little concentration of area, man?
Man, because of redlining. Because of redlining.
Because it's like they'll say, "Oh, it's a church and a liquor store on every other corner."
Bruh.
Because of red line, okay, elaborate.
Well, it was a liquor store on every corner. They all gone now.
Now they gone. Okay.
And the churches,
the
liquor stores,
the churches are somewhat still there, ain't they?
The churches are there, but the churches then turn into liquor stores.
And then turn into liquor stores.
The liquor stores are churches now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So redlining, I heard of the term, but elaborate a little bit on it.
Redlining is where a black community, I'm gonna say that, a black community can only buy houses and homes or businesses or whatever in a certain area.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Black people was pushed west.
They was forced into a small grid of an area. Yeah.
Grid of an area, and they was pushed west of downtown Las Vegas.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, way back, I'm talking about like 40s.
Okay.
Black people, they was migrating here because, it was kind of free here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was wide open kind of here, wasn't it?
It was wide open.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the first black church was downtown.
Was it?
Yes, sir. Zion Methodist Church was downtown Las Vegas. So, but after that, everybody was pushed west of the railroad. They call west of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
West of the
where the track, that was like the
Union
line.
Pacific Railroad. They was pushed west of that.
Okay.
So all the businesses and all the homes and all that was pushed, in West Las Vegas. So of course you got different people coming, different beliefs, different religions. You know what I'm saying?
But it was
and
so many. It's like so many.
Bro, it's just like anything else. You know what I'm saying? If I don't like what you're doing, I'm gonna go start my own.
And so now you got 5 churches on one block, within a mile radius or something. Yeah,
right. I mean, how many Baptist churches is on the west side? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got Pentecostal churches. You know what I'm saying? You got Methodist churches. You got Catholic churches on the west side. You know?
That's crazy.
Then you got the mosque. You got 2 different
mosques.
mosques.
You got the mosque. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And they still over there. They still over there to this day.
The mosque right on D Street.
On D
well,
Street,
then they got another mosque, another Muslim mosque. Now is on it's on Washington area. I think that's.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It sits between. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But my grandfather was one of the founding members of Mosque number 75. Mosque right there on D Street.
Okay, right there on D. The one that's still there, right?
The one that's still there.
Okay.
That was not always the mosque. When I was growing up, that was West Las Vegas Library.
That was a library right there?
That was a library.
Wow.
That was where
small joint then. What?
That's
small,
where the West Las Vegas Library used to be. You know.
Okay, before they moved up on Lake Mead.
Before they moved to Lake Mead.
Wow.
You know.
Man, wow.
Yeah, that was West Las Vegas Library.
And that area, man, Jackson Street and all that was like really like a Black Wall Street. That was really like popping too, man.
It
like
was.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was a lot of. It was entertainment. It was major entertainment, man. You know, like I said, it was from the Town Tavern.
Okay.
You had the Town Tavern. Then, like I say, this during my era. You know, you had Town Tavern. You had
what about
C's
the Cove?
Cotton Club.
Was the Cove a hotel?
The Cove was a hotel.
Okay.
But the Cove was closed down, man, when I was coming through. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I remember the Cove having a swimming pool on the top. On the top of the Cove,
man.
it was a swimming
they was
pool.
doing it then, when they
yeah. And that was actually the Cove was right across the street from the library, from the West Las Vegas Library. Yeah. But like I said, with you had major clubs, man, bars. You know, you had Hughes Liquor Store, man. You had Hughes Liquor. Oh, this is on Jackson from what we remember. You had Town Tavern, Hughes Liquor, Mama Bruno's.
That stretch, all that was on that stretch.
All that stretch. Right now, it was so many businesses on Jackson and the those Jackson and D and all those streets over there.
Yeah.
There was so many businesses over there. I'm talking about from cleaners to you go get shoe shine down there.
Like everything you need.
Sleepies was down there. All that stuff was down there. Barbershops, everything, you know. So it was major down there. Yeah. And now, you know, it's what, 2 businesses open? 2
businesses, yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
You know, it's a beauty shop and
if that. Yeah. What do you think happened though, man? Cuz when do you think the decline started? Was like 90s? Like when do you think the decline started? Before then?
Way before. It started way before then. Yes, sir. Yeah. The decline started, man. I want to say the decline started in the 70s.
You think so?
Yes, it started in the 70s, man.
What do you think happened? Like people just start pulling out, or just like
integration happened. You was able to go other places and spend your money. You was able to take your money.
You didn't have to stay on the west side. But why do you think, as a people, we didn't want to stay and build with our community? Like, because the land, would you feel right now that the land is still valuable?
Absolutely, they want it right now. Listen, man. I bought a house in historic West Las Vegas. Okay. Right. I just about a year ago. I
remember that. Okay.
I bought a house in a historic neighborhood. It's deemed an historic neighborhood in Berkeley Square.
Berkeley Square. Okay. Yeah, Berkeley Square. Okay.
Bro, you wouldn't believe the amount of letters I get, the offers. They want to buy my house. They want to buy. And it's been going on for years. My grandmother's house on the corner of C and Madison. Man, they've been trying to get that property.
And that property's old, man. But it's valuable.
It's valuable because it's right at downtown. They want, in the 100-year plan, they wanted to extend. They want to extend downtown Las Vegas into
So they want to come into that. They want to come all into that. So then wouldn't it kind of clash with what they consider like the historic West Side? Are they trying to like?
Of course it would.
Gentrify the whole area?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you know right there where that bridge is, where like the homeless and say the historic. You think they trying to go past that line?
Listen, they tried to cut that off, bro. Do you remember that? They tried to shut.
It was a big fight about that, wasn't it?
It was. They had to reopen it because
they tried to close it off, right?
Because it was a business access.
Okay.
It was a business access, man. People was able to go through F Street to get to downtown Las Vegas.
To get to downtown, yeah.
And they shut it off. So
they was hot about that. It was a big protest about the wedding. Yeah, okay, I remember that.
And they had to go back and reopen F Street. You know.
So do you think like they trying to devalue it to get it for the low, to be like, oh, it ain't worth nothing? Then they snatch it up and then put high rises and all that stuff like that.
They're doing it right now, where Victory Church is. Where Victory Church used to be.
Where it used to be. Okay, Victory ain't right there no more?
No. Not Victory. Excuse me, not Victory. New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem. Okay. New Jerusalem moved to off of Wyatt and Martin Luther King. Right?
Okay. Oh, right there, kind of like on the big area, the big church right there. That's New Jerusalem. Okay.
Exactly.
So their old spot was where?
The old spot was on D Street, on D and Jefferson.
Is the building still there?
No, it's tore down. And the city owns the property.
Oh, they just trying to gobble everything.
That's what they're doing. The city owns, man, they're buying up all that property over there.
All that parcel. All
those parcels because, like I said, it's worth money. It's worth a lot of money.
They got their eyes on, okay, what can we get next? But if they get it, they going to flip it, man, ain't they? Yeah.
Man, listen, I always said we need to invest back in our neighborhood, man, because if we don't, it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone.
It's going to be
all
gone.
the history.
You fast forward 20, 30 years from now, it won't even be a blip, man, will it? And so do you think we seeing the last days of the historic West Side? Do you think we...
you know
what? The last era, should I say?
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I do hate to say it. But yes, if people don't come back and invest in it, and and buy properties and show a true interest in West Las Vegas, you know what I'm saying, and put up a true fight for it,
it's gonna be gone.
It's gonna be gone, man.
And that's all we got. That's all we got.
It's gonna be gone. Like I said, they're snatching it up piece by piece by piece by piece.
What do you think about somebody like, you remember when Magic Johnson came in and didn't he invest in that buy low area or something? He kind of made that happen, didn't he?
He made that happen. Okay. And actually, John Edmonds purchased that.
Did he?
He purchased that because what happened?
Like Magic had it first, and then Edmonds came behind him and bought it?
Yep, after the Rodney King ride. See,
I'm about to say after the Rodney King. Okay.
Major to happen.
Okay. Like a collapse or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So we fast forward from that first riot, and that was in the 70s, and you go to what, 91, 92? 92. The OJ stuff and all that?
Well, it wasn't the OJ
No, it was the
stuff,
Rodney King stuff. I mean, Rodney King stuff. Okay. That's what made the next thing happen. Then they burned it down again, didn't they?
They burned Nucleus Plaza. They burned a few other places. And like I said, in the West Side was on the rise then. It was
just coming back up. It was just coming back up. Okay.
It was coming back up, man. Right across, right on the corner of J and Owens. Okay, J Street and Owens. Okay. Right there where the laundromat is, it's a barbershop. It's Soul Food Young.
Soul Food Young, right there. Okay.
That shop, that little that strip.
That little plaza.
Did you know that it was a Foot Locker in there?
No, man. Bruh, it used to be a Foot Locker?
It was a Foot Locker in there, and it was a Domino's Pizza.
Right there?
Right when the riots were starting, bro.
And so what they did, they moved out of there when everything
when that happened, they was gone. Because
did they break in that place?
Yeah, they broke into it.
Oh, well, that's it, yeah.
But see, this is what happened. Like I said, it was a lot of those Foot Locker satellites popping up, right? And it started happening right after Jordan.
Right after
Jordan, you know.
Because that's when he was winning all them championships.
When Jordan was using all the championships. And, the shoes was like,
the Jordans was hot.
Black people is buying these shoes like crazy.
$200-$300, they buying them.
You know what I'm saying?
They buying them.
So they put a satellite store in
really
West Las Vegas
from a business perspective.
Point of view. Yeah. It was another one, right? Where the Rancho Swap Meet is. Okay. That used to be a Kmart back in the day. It was a Foot Locker right there.
Was it right there?
Yeah, it was a Foot Locker.
I don't even remember that being a Kmart. Yeah. That's crazy, man.
It was a Kmart. Cool. When I was coming up, growing up, it was a Kmart right there. You know, so it was like I say, so it was a lot of major stuff going on right there. And when the Rodney King riots happened, I was there.
You was there.
I was working in Nucleus Plaza at that time.
Was you?
Yes,
so
sir.
You seen it go down.
I seen it go down. I seen that. Listen, it was crazy.
I was sad, man. I remember that when it popped off, man. I heard the boy Thor was on his roof with a shotgun.
But you know what? They wasn't messing with him.
They wasn't messing with him.
Listen, the first thing to burn was the owners of Big 8 Market van.
They burned that?
It was some Koreans. They own the store.
They own the
store, but not the building. So people didn't know that the whole shopping plaza was black owned.
And they didn't know that.
They didn't know that.
So they just going to
burn the business down.
God,
they shut that man. Look, they burned the van first. That was on fire. Next thing, Big 8 Market was in flames.
But then you know the sad part about that is they say like, not that we should do it to any other community, but why y'all gonna burn your own stuff? Then like you wake up the next morning and now you don't got nowhere to shop at.
Wait a minute, they tried. They was on their way down.
Oh, they was on their way downtown and they shut them off.
Man, they shut them off at the Bonanza Bridge.
At the Bonanza Bridge. They shut that down,
man,
didn't they?
They was on their way down there, man. They was on their way.
So they gonna say, nope, y'all gonna burn up y'all community.
Gonna burn up your community, man. And that's what happened, you know. They burned up a lot of stuff over there. But like I said, John Edmonds, being the businessman that he is, he came back, and he came back even better.
Even after all that, he came back?
He rebuilt Nucleus Plaza. So after that, the other end of Nucleus, the end that Big 8 was on, he extended it. He came in there with the beauty school. Then we had the medical facility.
So he did come back stronger than that. Yeah.
Wells Fargo Bank came in there.
Wells Fargo Bank, okay.
You know, it was a bunch of different stuff that came in after that. You know what I mean? And so when when he was able to purchase the Magic Johnson Center.
Okay.
When he was able to purchase that, he ended up selling Nucleus Plaza.
Oh, he just got
sold
off
Nucleus Plaza.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
He sold Nucleus, went across the street, and purchased the Magic Johnson's place.
Man, he been making some moves then.
Man, he made moves, man, back in the day, right on where the bank is, the B of A is right there on the corner of Washington and Martin Luther King.
Yeah, that one. Okay, yeah.
He owned that property when Shay's Place and 7-Eleven and all that stuff was in there. Yeah, he owned that. That was his property.
That's great. Speaking of 7-Eleven, who would you say was it? Mr. Diggs? That was the first
yes.
Black 7-Eleven owner?
Well,
was it the Stop and Shop or 7-Eleven? Which one was it?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. Just recently, they had a thing on the news where this young guy, came in and he purchased a 7-Eleven, and they were saying that he was the first black person to purchase a 7-Eleven, and I had to think about that. I was like, wait a minute. I'm proud of him. I'm glad it's what he's doing, but he's not the first.
But let's get the facts right.
It's not the first. Right on the corner, Lake Mead and Ingolstadt. Where it changes into D to Ingolstadt.
Yeah, Stop and Shop, Stop and Get Popped, all that.
Stop and Shop was there.
Okay.
Sonny's Market.
Market. Okay.
Before it was Stop and Shop, it was 7-Eleven. That 7-Eleven was owned by Ernest Diggs. It was owned by Mr. Diggs.
So he was originally the first. Yeah.
I know. It may have been someone before him.
80s, 90s? What you think?
Oh, man, that was in the 70s, man.
Really? Back then?
Yeah. Mr. Diggs was there, man. He was there for a long time. He was there. It was that 7-Eleven was there. It was a bar next door called the Wild Goose Bar.
Right there.
And it was a laundromat. In that area right there.
That's crazy that all that stuff now, like you wouldn't even believe that stuff existed. All that there, man.
Even with 7 Seas.
I'm about to say, what do you think about what they did with 7 Seas? You think somebody should have scooped that up, or was it time for it to be demolished and rebuilt?
No,
or what?
I think it was a wonderful idea for them to come in there and do what they did with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What is it now? What is it now?
It's,
WSO?
WSO, yeah.
But it kind of gave it an upgraded look, didn't it?
Yeah, they did. And it's a nice place in there. I went in there and took a peep at it, man.
They're just nice? Yeah.
It's a nice place in there.
What about the Post, man? What about the Post? The Post is it's been an anchor in the West Side for a minute too, man.
VFW Post, man. Yeah. My other grandfather was the commander at the Post.
Was he?
Man. Yeah. But a lot of people don't know. Where now it's the American Legion.
It's the American Legion.
American Legion now. It was the VFW Post before. Okay.
So why do you think they changed it? Like, what was it about?
Well, some controversy.
Okay.
Controversy, money situations, and all of that. You know what I mean? And rules and regulations from the American Legion.
Okay.
So, but the thing is that the Post has not always been right there. People don't know that. You know, the Post used to...
What was right there before then? What?
It was a club called the El Rio Club. It was an actual casino.
A real spot.
Real casino. It was a small casino. It was called the El Rio Club right there on the corner of H and Doolittle.
Okay, right there. Okay.
Now, the Post used to be, the VFW Post used to be on the corner of D and Madison.
Man, way over there?
Right on that corner.
Wow.
That's a church now. Actually, it's my uncle's church.
Okay. Tyrone?
No. Ezra Bell.
Ezra Bell. Okay,
yeah,
Ezra
my
Bell.
dad's brother.
Man, that is something else, man. Yeah. That is something else, dude. Wow. A lot of history, man. What do you think nowadays in the 21st century we should say, like, we can look forward to as the historic Westside? Is it always just to be a memory, you think, about going forward? What do you think?
Like I said, if people don't invest in West Las Vegas, you know what I'm saying? It will become a history. It will become a memory. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it'll just be that. It was just the history of West Las Vegas. But there are people that are making moves. There's people that are making moves right now, man.
Got to scoop up some of that real estate, man, some ownership and stuff, man.
Exactly. You know, it's I know a few people, man, that has, that has invested. You know, there's a lot of people, grandchildren and things like that. That was like, hey, man, we need to do this.
We need to do something,
So
it's now it's on our watch. We talking about 60s, 70s, 80s, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
watch,
exactly.
Man.
And I have to think about that a whole lot, too. I'm like, hey, man, you talking about what they gonna do? We are the they now.
We are the they.
You know what I'm saying? We're in our 50s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got now. We
got to handle this. You know. So, like I said, man, it's the torch has been passed to us. You know, from the John Edmonds and the Gene Collins. And
cats that then paved the way. Cats that paved the way.
They paved the way.
And we talking about predominantly 89106, like his shirt, the 89106 zip code, man. You know, so but yeah, man, interesting, bro. I appreciate your depth and knowledge, man. Anything else you want to leave with the people, man, before we wrap it up, man?
Hey, just like I said, man, we've been around here for a long time, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and we have to remember our history, man. You know, and try to preserve it.
Yeah.
You know, we need to try to preserve it, man. You know, and like I said, man, if we need to get together, man, and clean up some lots, man.
Man. Because somebody gonna come by and do it. Somebody's gonna come and do it. Yeah.
And well, see, the thing is that they'll come by and do it. You know, the city will come and do it.
Yeah.
But they gonna charge whoever own that property.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or put a lien against the property. You don't pay the property. You don't pay for it. Guess where the property goes?
They got it. Yeah. Yeah, find some tradesmen and people that work on stuff and get stuff. Yeah, that ownership, man. You know. Yeah, so definitely, man. A lot of history, bro. But I appreciate you, man. Big Will, man. Will Manor, taking us through a tour of the historic West Side, man. The history of it, man. We appreciate you stopping through, man.
Yes, sir.
Definitely, man. D.FosPodcast, Vegas Hype Media. We're gonna get up out of here, man. Peace. This is our show. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we out.